welcome to another edition of Recruiters with No Limits. Always live, never scripted, here on Friday, February 2nd, with my co-host and sidekick, Johnny Ruffini. Hey, Johnny, what's up, buddy?
Good afternoon, Richard. Happy Groundhog Day.
You know it, man. So we got to talk about that first, man. I don't know if you guys in the South know, but here in Pennsylvania, you've probably seen the movie Punxsutawney. Groundhog Day is like a celebration, like a Super Bowl for us in Pennsylvania. So did you guys hear this? What happened? Did he see a shadow or not? Did you know?
I did not. Tell us, Richard.
Oh, what do you think it is?
I think he saw a shadow.
Really? So here it is right here. Check this out. He's reading a newspaper. He did not see a shadow. So guess what? Ooh. Spring is coming early in the north.
Look at that. You guys are happy.
It's only been like 21 times he's never seen a shadow. Is that crazy? And if you guys get a chance, I'm going to tell you, what you see on TV is like in person. We sit up on a hill, about 500 of us, in freezing cold weather, drinking alcohol and hot chocolate, waiting for 7 o'clock to come. Is that crazy?
Oh, my gosh, that's nuts.
Once a year, seriously. People drive in and they bust you in. We're talking like 2 a.m. I mean, this stuff is like, oh.
An event.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show. We got Robert and Kim. They're going to be at the Staffing Sales Summit here in sunny Florida here coming up soon. And I'll tell you what, you guys are all from Florida. I'm so excited to just get down there. I mean, seriously, from the north, it's all gray. It's nasty out. It's going to rain all weekend.
Come get some sunshine, Richard.
That's it. So before we even start, you know what? Let's hear a little bit about yourself. So, Robert, I mean, you got so many things going on. Give us a little bit about who you are, and then we'll jump in with Kim.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the name is Robert Reid. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. I've worked in the staffing industry for 13 years before I joined Butler Street. The other part of my background is I am an improv actor and comedian. I'm actually doing a show tonight. It is my happy place. Put me on a stage with no script. That is my happy place. When I joined Butler Street, it really made sense, kind of bringing this fun element to training, my background in training, but also that staffing focus. It's a match made in heaven in terms of this role with Butler Street that I have as a facilitator. So I love it. Really excited to be here.
You are excited. And I got to ask you, what else do you do? Come on, you got to throw it out there. You're a singer too.
I am, yes. I am the lead singer of a punk band, and we have begun together. I think we first formed in like middle school in like 1992. We just refused to give it up.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
We've got a show coming up on February 17th, so we're getting prepped.
Very nice.
Exciting, man. All right, Kim, the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Unfortunately, I don't know comedy and improv, but Robert, I'm ready to listen to you, so I want to go and dial in when you do your next show. But I'm Kim Henderson. I also live in Florida. I live in Southwest Florida, and I've actually been in the staffing industry since 1993. And many years ago, John and I actually worked for the same company. So spent my staffing career with 2 companies, one national and one global in nature. In roles everywhere from, sales and recruiting all the way through business unit management of government accounts, strategic accounts, global accounts, all the way up to exec leadership within these 2 companies. And in 2019, decided to venture out on my own, very similar to Robert, and do training for the staffing industry. I looked at it and said, gosh, all the years and all the things that I've learned and maybe mistakes I've made along the way and some good moves, some bad moves in staffing, if I can go and bottle that up and try to share that with other people and help them accelerate their career and be successful in staffing all the more quickly, then it's worth it. So it's a great industry. It's kind of in the veins and in the blood and love it. I kind of fell into it by accident. Like I think many of us do. And it's just become a career and a passion and a great love of mine. And from that standpoint, again, I don't do comedy or don't do improv, but I definitely, I do play tennis and bocce ball. That's probably not nearly in the same category. And I do a lot of volunteering for our local humane society here and helping with, homeless animal adoptions and things like that. That's kind of a side passion of mine. So if anyone needs a cat or dog, they're plenty to be had.
I love that, Kim. And you know what? John's a singer too. And I'm a DJ. So we all could have something jam out here. You know that.
You guys obviously have talent. You're talented to be able to do that. I admire you. I'm envious.
I got it. It's crazy. So, okay. So before we deep dive into what we're going to talk about the Staffing Sales Conference, I got an email this morning here, and I want you guys to check this out. Seriously, it was a sales email. Tell me your take on this. Have a great weekend. I'm sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable. You're a great person. I thought it would be fun to learn from your thorough conversation and share each other's achievements in the field of life. Trying to sell me a staffing software solution. What's your take on that, Robert?
Wow.
I didn't even know what the message was about. I don't know if it was a reply to other communication, but the field of life is not what I want to buy from a stranger. Not looking for any guidance there from a stranger.
and that key word, uncomfortable. What's that about? Like, seriously.
Yeah, it just immediately tells me, oh, that's right, I am uncomfortable. Thanks for reminding me of how I feel about the exchange with you.
What's your take on that, Kim, real quick?
I think that Robert and I could actually use that email in our training when we're reaching out to go to prospects in terms of maybe what not to say and how not to approach it. Because as Robert said, I don't understand what they were selling or what they were trying to do. It just seemed very disjointed and whimsical, for lack of a better word. But it's a great example of maybe how not to approach prospects that we could use.
There are so many times that all of us, I'm sure, are recipients of blasts like that. You know, you connect with someone reaches out to you on LinkedIn, they're in the industry for whatever reason. It's like, yeah, I'll connect with them. And then immediately you get slammed with this sales pitch. When did people, I mean, that's been going on forever, but when did people lose sight of like fundamental selling and solving problems and listening to your audience and getting to know them? Why is sales, I'll ask each of you, why is sales specifically in the staffing industry for some reason infinitely more hard now than it was in the past?
So Robert, you want me to jump in first?
Yeah, go ahead. Take that first. Yeah.
I think that, right now there's so much more noise in the system, John. We're getting bombarded. People get bombarded, by emails, by LinkedIn, by, all different avenues that come toward us. So I think what we've lost in staffing is, to your point, that ability to get in front of somebody and build that rapport, ask the questions, try to determine what the pain points are and where they actually really need a solution. I think today staffing folks in general are too eager to jump in and pose a solution and throw a solution out there, right? Just kind of spraying whatever they can without knowing what the problem is, right? It's like you go into a car dealership, the way I liken it, and they're telling you all these great things about the car. It's got heated seats, it's green, it does this, it's got this technology, and all you care about are two things. I want a V8 engine and four-wheel drive, but they're not covering that. They're just spraying you with all this other information that's not pertinent to you or relevant. So I think that, we've lost that in staffing, sitting down, asking the questions, understanding where and how we can craft a solution to these individuals versus just I'll call it, spray and pray technique, which is what a lot of folks are doing right now. Yep. And then I'll finish it by saying, the art of the phone call, I think, is unfortunately died in our industry or is dying. And that's very, very, very sad because, that reach out, that contact on the telephone to me never goes away. It's a differentiator. It's an opportunity to sell yourself, sell your company, get to know the individual and advance to that next step. And a lot of folks today don't use the telephone to do that. And let's face it, we all get contacted by people. The ones that leave the message and call you are the ones that ultimately, that we'll end up reaching out to, not that spray of email or spray of LinkedIn, invites.
100% real quick before Robert jumps in. I love what you said there, Kim. Even when I go to staffing firms, I'm on the phone all the time. You know what? And it's that same email. I can provide staffing to you. We're not selling bodies, people. You know that. Kim, you summed it up. So many staffing companies I deal with, when I walk in, it's the same thing. They have a sales rep. They don't train them, and they just throw them out there and just say, go knock on doors and pass business cards out. What's your take on us, Robert?
Yeah, I think you just said it there. They hire people and they don't train them. And I think when we think about sales in the world that we live in right now, people like convenience. People want things quickly. People want things easily. I mean, you think about all the apps that are developed and stuff like that. It is meant to make life easier. I think the one thing that salespeople are just failing to do is develop skills, actually work to develop skills. You know, in sales, losing, super easy to lose. It's very easy to lose. Just cut corners, kind of just dabble a little bit in your preparation. But the really great salespeople, they hustle, they do the work, they practice, they prepare. I mean, you see people that show up to meetings and they've got like a sticky note of thoughts about how they want that meeting to go. Then you've got the superstars. They're like, I got a 3-page document. I've done all my research. I know what questions I'm going to ask. And here's the thing. That's hard. That takes work. And I think it's a struggle for people to invest in the work of enhancing your skills and being prepared.
Yeah.
Everybody wants that instant gratification. You know, they want that quick sale. They're not willing to put the work into it. They think, you know, well, I just want the easy money. Well, there's no such thing.
Well, it's so interesting because as an improviser, people are always like, oh my gosh, that sounds terrifying. To which I say, I want you to think about your lack of preparation. All you're doing is forcing yourself to improvise, which is terrifying. You're not putting your best foot forward. So by not planning, you're forcing yourself into a situation where now you got to kind of hopefully navigate a conversation with no plan. Doesn't make any sense.
Well, you know what, Robert? They don't do any research either. They don't even know what the company is. They just call up. They have this list. They get it off of Zoom Info or one of them other ones and just, you know, start dialing. Hey, you need staff. You need staff. And you leave the same generic message for 30 seconds. And you hear it all the time.
Yeah. It's like squandering. Oh, I'm sorry. It's like squandering opportunity. I think, you know, you work so hard to be able to get that individual on the phone or get that first conversation. And to Robert's point, if you haven't done any research or any homework, you're going to blow it because you're going to talk about things that candidly they don't care about, right? Because you don't understand their environment and what's going on. So great point, Robert.
What's Eminem always say? You got one shot. That's it, Bray.
Make it count, right? So it's not, I always tell folks, it's not that hard to be a little bit better than most of your competition out there, because most of your competition, to your point, Robert, doesn't want to put in the work. And if you put in a little bit of work and just open your ears a little bit more, it's amazing the trust that you start to build and the conversations that develop. And that's another thing, to your point, Kim, those conversations, it is a lost art because everybody in today's day and age, in most of the recruiter base, let's face it, millennials, Gen Zs, they grew up communicating digitally, and it's not the same. And while that initial contact might happen digitally, eventually you've got to build that relationship, and you can't do that digitally.
You're right. You think about any staffing sale that any of us have ever done. It always happened face to face, right? It always spawned from a face-to-face conversation, and obviously usually a phone call prior to that. It just, maybe I was never good enough to go get someone to just start throwing recs to me while I was sitting at my desk over email, but it really does take the face-to-face piece to go and build that trust and be able to move that needle. And to your point, John, a lot of folks have lost that art and that desire.
Yep. Quick. It's a quick fix is what they want.
Yeah. Do you guys find, I mean, both of you have your own businesses and you're serving the staffing community. Back in the day, to your point, Kim, again, I grew up in a local market recruiting and everything was done face-to-face. We interviewed candidates face-to-face. We went and visited potential prospects and clients face-to-face. COVID kind of threw a wrench into that. Now everybody's like, oh, well, we can do the same thing virtual. Do you find people are less likely, or are they more resistant to do a Zoom call? Are there still opportunities to get in front of people, or do they want to say, no, just, give me a Zoom call and we'll do it digitally? Or are they okay with the face-to-face? What are you finding out in the market?
Actually, I'll jump in, and then Robert, you can see if you agree with my thoughts. I think in all candor, a lot of staffing folks got lazy, with Zoom. We got so accustomed to it in 2019, 2020 because we had to. And now that that's not the case anymore, I think that it's become kind of the de facto default way of communicating. And while video is great, again, it doesn't take the place of being out there on site, because not only you'd be able to meet with that particular hiring manager, John, there's the ability to walk around and be introduced to other people while you're there. You're able to have your eyes and ears on the environment and determine what's happening, what potential work am I missing. So being on site, it's amazing how much more you can learn on site by engaging with the people and walking around versus sitting behind the video screen. And I think, again, some staffers have gotten a little too comfortable with video and a little too on the, for lack of a better word, the lazy side with it.
What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, you think about what we can see right now, just in our view. I can see from your shoulders down. We know how big of a part body language is in human connection. I'm seeing 33% of what you're showing me in terms of your body language. Now, we get a lot.
Do you want to see the rest?
Never mind. Richard, please sit down. No, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Zoom is an incredible tool that allows us to connect with people and in a more efficient manner. And I don't think it should go away. But yeah, I'm with Kim. You got to get out in front of people.
Bingo.
Now, I think a lot of salespeople are comfortable just talking at people. And that's using all the technology and the methods where we're just throwing messaging at them. You don't know what's happening there. That's why we're going to talk with people. We get in front of people. You do those site tours. You really sit down. You can see the pictures of their kids behind them on the desk. That's where you develop those relationships.
100%, Robert. You know something else I like, especially in light industrial? I roll in with my boots on, my jeans, my flannel. I'm like the project manager. They love that. When they walk you outside in the parking lot and still talk to you, you got the deal. The shark's kind of hooked, and it's like, and most of these other sales reps, you probably agree with this. You shouldn't dress the part. I mean, dress the part. If you have a suit on and you're going to a manufacturing company, come on. What do you think? What do you guys take on that? Do you think you should dress the part for each position?
I will tell you an example. I went to a warehouse outside of Chicago and I said, can I hop on the line for about 10 minutes? I need to be able to explain how this is going to work if we're going to place people. I don't know if risk management would agree with that technique. But I was. And you know what? That supervisor was like, how about you? I love that.
Want to put you on night shift, right?
Yeah. I was like, just pay me for an hour for the 10 minutes of work that I did. But no, in all seriousness, I wanted that customer to recognize, hey, I'm not just here to get the contract signed. I'm going to find you the people who are capable of doing this job. Because I remember at that particular site, it was like exercising for 7 hours. That's how strenuous.
I would venture to say that there weren't many, if any, other reps that paid a visit to that site that did what you did.
Nope, 100%. And something else that I've started doing is actually I go on and work with my temps while they're working the shift. I'll do 4 hours with them on the side. I have to sign an agreement so I don't hurt myself. I tell you what, guys, you're right, Robert. When you're done with that packaging and stuff like that, logistics, my back's killing me at the end. It's like, holy cow. But I think you're missing that human connection, guys. That's the whole thing. You just get the contract and then you just walk away. This is something that really concerns me. We'll probably talk about it at the summit a lot more. They get the contract and they never talk anymore. It's just the recruiters.
And we're in a people business. So, sometimes it's like, what is staffing? It's all about relationships. And sometimes we forget about that. Robert, Butler Street's done a great job of providing some training to the industry, various verticals, et cetera. Is there a common thread that you see when you're training companies and their sales forces as far as are there common threads with respect to what they're having the most struggles with?
It's interesting because it's ever changing. I can tell you that, probably a year and a half ago, I was doing a ton of recruiting training, and then it'll shift and we do a lot of sales training, and then it'll shift and we do a lot of leadership training. So I think it's how companies are responding to market conditions, what they're seeing out there, where the greatest challenges are. That's typically when they pick up the phone and call us. And so, I think there's a big skills gap in sales right now. I think there are a lot of people that, like we mentioned earlier, they're just kind of going out there and hoping they land an account business. And what's missing is people just don't have those sales skills to the level that they need to be successful, to edge out their competition. I'll tell you one thing that we are investing a tremendous amount of time and money in is AI. I can tell you, everybody at Butler Street is required to use ChatGPT every single day because it's the usage that helps kind of, it sets the light bulbs off in our brain of like, oh my gosh, what took an hour for me to teach salespeople, I can now get them to learn in 5 minutes by simply using AI. And so we're really driving this whole, you got to work smarter, not harder. And if you're not embracing AI, you're just falling so behind.
100%.
Exactly. And Robert, I don't know if you see this, but I think, John, since Robert and I do what we do is very similar. New hire training seems to be what a lot of folks need right now, because they bring individuals in, they need to get them productive quickly, but they don't necessarily have a plan in place to do that, right? To teach everything from business development all the way through offer and close. And I think another area that I've seen more recently beyond new account acquisition is account penetration and expansion, right? Because I think traditionally in staffing, oftentimes people and companies do somewhat of a poor job of that, because I say we compare ourselves to ourselves, right? We'll have maybe, 10 perm placements at a company or 15 contract placements at a company and think we're doing an amazing job. Then we ask the question and find out our competition has 100 contractors billable and they're doing, placing 30 direct hires a year or more. And because we didn't know that whole piece of the pie, that whole picture, that whole hiring picture in terms of staffing spend, because we weren't asking, we're missing a lot of business. So I think that account penetration and expansion's been lacking, and a lot of folks are starting to realize that in the staffing industry and say, hey, how do we expand the accounts that we have and keep them and build that loyalty and that retention if we head into a tough environment in 2024?
Keep them is the key, Kim. You know that. Keep them. So many staffing firms get all these accounts, and then a year later, they lose half of them. Keep going. What do you guys take on this? Every staffing firm's always wants new business. They just want new, and they never service the stuff they have. Do you see that a lot?
Yes. It's kind of the shiny object syndrome, right? Always kind of chasing the shiny ball. But to your point, it's expensive to acquire new customers. I read somewhere it's between 5 to 25 times more expensive to go get a new customer versus take the existing one you have and make money out of it. And let's face it, there's all that upfront SG&A cost of the prospecting. It costs us money to get a new account. So then when we get it, the first year it may not be overly profitable as we figure out how to go and learn their process and penetrate. So really year 2 is where you're going to hit that stride. And by year 2, to your point, Richard, that's sometimes where people have given up, right? They're not working the account anymore. They're like, this is too hard. Oh gosh, I don't know. I haven't hit everybody in this org chart. I don't know that I want to do this. And I think I'm going to go over here and chase this account, right? When in reality, they should be digging in because we've already put that upfront work, for the past year, building that account out and getting it signed and getting it online and getting processes in place.
But Kim, that takes a lot of work. That's hard.
A lot of work and strategy.
Yes, and doing the mechanics, like you said, John, Robert, you guys alluded to it. It's like taking the mechanics that we all know in staffing and embracing them for every single transaction, every single customer. And I think that's where folks tend to, let that slide sometimes.
Do you think sales reps sometimes are all over the board? They're not like a Tom Brady and zoned in. They're like they get up in the morning and they're just throwing everything they can at the walls, and they're not like really got a strategy. Do you guys see that a lot when you go out and talk to people?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. You have people that are just diluted. Their efforts are diluted because they are just kind of trying everything, and no one's really looking to get really good at all of these different ways of reaching out to customers. One thing that I'm finding that not a lot of salespeople are doing is texting prospects. It is such a powerful way to connect with people. I mean, think about, where is the phone in relation to your body right now? Probably within a foot of you. It's like, I mean, we're looking at them. I was at a restaurant in an airport, and I just looked around for a second. Literally every single person in that restaurant was staring at their phone. It's such a huge opportunity. I think there's the last numbers I saw, there's a 45% response rate on texting. Highest I've seen is like 18.9 on email. I think there's just a fear of it. And it's that whole, I just don't know what that looks like. I don't know how to approach that. It's like, then embrace it, figure it out, find a way to make that work for you.
Robert, I love it. I always say, go for forgiveness versus permission when it comes to staffing sales. And I started to use texting as well, much more over the past couple of years. And I think if done politely, right, and respectfully, it can be a powerful tool because everybody reads their text. I think it's how you say something, right? Garbage can lid or silver platter depends on how you want to present it. And I think if you present yourself properly and respectfully on a text, you can really get a lot of leverage and runway out of that. So
100%. You guys are right on, because I do this every day when I text people. And you know what's funny is it's about the lingo. When you get to know them, hey man, did you check that cannon out? Hey, what's up, dog? I even go that lingo too. Once you build that relationship with them, they're calling you all the time. If they call me Shark or whatever, you start building that relationship, they're never going to leave you.
Yeah, it's interesting. We try and tell people, try your best to achieve what we call the law of familiarity, where they've got some sort of inkling as to who you are before you text them. But we think about a prospecting game plan. You're reaching out a ton to try and get that customer to engage with you. You're on your 10th, 11th touch. They haven't reached out and you haven't achieved that law of familiarity. Text them. What do you got to lose? They're not reaching out.
What do you got to lose?
Exactly. Yeah. And Robert, to your point, you've already called and left messages. You've already emailed. You've already reached out and left messages on LinkedIn. There should be, to your point, some familiarity with your name and what you do, to where sending a text shouldn't be so cold and foreign. It should be, it's another touch point, right?
100%. We got to have fun with it. Seriously, we do at the end of the day.
You do, and you can't. Somebody said this earlier. I don't remember who, but you can't be afraid to fail. And you should. We have a bunch of mediums at our disposal in today's world. We should use them all, because we don't know what the person on the other end responds best to. So you try one. You should always, complement that with others, because you don't know which one they're going to respond to. And by doing that, you're also getting to know your audience on how they like to communicate.
And
exactly.
Richard, one thing you said is, let's have fun with it. And I will tell you, there's a concept that I use in my training, and that is embrace the weird. And by that, I mean, here's the thing. When you're doing your reach outs, you're going to have some pretty stock business conservative messaging, but then have fun. We run people through trainings where they're crafting voicemail scripts using ChatGPT. And I tell them, great. Now ask ChatGPT to write that voicemail script in the style of SpongeBob SquarePants. Because if you know that prospect likes that and doing your research, or maybe they're a big Harry Potter fan or they're a Detroit Lions fan, craft your messaging through that lens and you become more memorable and you have more fun doing it.
Memorable. I love that term.
Memorable. You know what's funny is I do AI with like Rambo. Picture of me with a cartoon of Rambo, and it says, I'll fight to get you candidates. I throw that in an email. People love that. It's cartoons. Yeah. No, nobody wants to see the original Richard Rosner, but when you make it like fun, like a Netflix, we're all having fun these days. Since COVID, guys, everybody's more relaxed.
And I think you can't be afraid to, kind of along your lines, what you were saying, Robert, is, if you do make a mistake or something turns out to be, less than perfect, so what, right? Not every call, every email, it's not going to be perfection, so it's almost, to your point, you take it in stride, you don't let it mess up your day, and you pick up and you move on and you change it for the next time, right? Change how you approach it. Don't do everything the same way every time, and you learn from it, right? But to your point, you have to have fun. You have to be able to laugh at yourself. You have to be able to almost laugh at the situation sometimes.
My.
The whole cold calling thing is, I kind of view it as fun. It was always interesting to see, was someone going to hang up on you? What were they going to say on the other end? And sometimes you get some really interesting comments from people that made the job, entertaining in terms of cold calling. So you said, if you could add fun to it and not be afraid to make the errors and the mistakes, move forward, it's always going to happen.
Cold calling is something that should be like a reality series. Seriously, some of these calls you get, you hit them at the worst time and they want to vent on you. Oh, I hate that coworker. It's like, okay, I'll listen to everything you say if you want to do a contract, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the point.
Something I want to talk about, Kim, that you're going to be doing at the presentation is the statement of work. Something I think is a lost art. A lot of times, you probably both agree. I don't see many staffing firms really taking the time to do that statement of work because it takes time. Give me your take on what you're going to present for that. Sure.
I personally sold a lot of statement of work business within the contract realm. So again, the way I'm going to work through it with the team for the summit is it's a form of time and material staffing, right? And we're going to kind of go through, why do we want statement of work business? What's in it for us as staffers, right? What are all the benefits that we're going to derive by selling this form of contract staffing? Conversely, why do clients want to go and buy in this model? What's in it for them? And then how do we identify some of these opportunities, right? So how do we look at our current clients and determine, what are the telltale signs? What are the flags that we should be seeing and noting that are prime environments to sell SOW? Who are the buyers in this service, right? Who do we approach? And that's going to vary based on organization. And what questions do we ask to drive down to, is statement of work going to be a good fit here, right? What are the questions? And along with that is uncovering the pain points. Because sometimes the pain points are they're staring you in the face. They're having issues with working through the MSP. They're having issues working through the internal talent acquisition program. And this is an alternative to that. We'll also talk about understanding the SOW process, right? So you've identified it, you're asking the questions, what's their process? How do they work through it so you know what to expect and you can guide them through it? And then finally, I want to talk about what we want to avoid, okay? So I don't think there's many staffing companies out there that have the desire or the appetite to do fixed price projects, nor the expertise. And that's not what this is, right? This is a different form of T&M staffing. But what are the things we want to avoid, in our contracts, right? We don't want to be doing, guarantees on work, wide scale implementations or analysis or pay when paid or giving money back if they don't approve some work, all the things to avoid and everything that we can go put together to identify it, ask the questions, get it in place to help us penetrate and expand our accounts better, and also just start gaining more client share because it lends itself to project business and heavy duty, volume type placements, multiple placements at one time versus one and done. So what it means to client share and growing your business quickly in 2024 is it's incredible. It's, and hate to say it, we love the MSPs, but sometimes it helps us navigate around them a little more effectively and a little more quickly. And not only does that benefit us, it benefits the clients too. So that's a preview.
That's going to be a great preview. I mean, seriously, that's going to, John, I'm excited for the presentation, Kim. You're going to rock it out. And there's so much stuff. That statement of work, I can't wait to you deep dive into it. So, man, that's going to be good stuff.
It's good business. It's great business to have.
We got to give a shout out to David here. Look at this. Presented at a party supply chain, dressed in a costume.
Dressed in costume.
Hey, you know what? Whatever it takes, right?
If the customer likes it, he knows his customer.
It's Groundhog Day in Pennsylvania. Everybody should be out there dressed like a groundhog and knocking on doors, right? It's comical.
I will let you take that one, Richard.
No, I won't do that.
Robert, you're going to be, if I'm not mistaken, tell us a little bit about what you're going to talk about at the summit, because it's something that everybody deals with in our line of work, and that's handling objections. Correct?
Yes. Yeah. That is going to be the focus of my talk. Is really handling the most difficult objections. And I think when we think about objections, it's like I mentioned earlier. People would rather just improvise through a moment instead of plan for it. The thing I talk to people about is I do an exercise where I'm like, give me every possible objection that you typically get in your interactions with customers. And they struggle to come up with more than maybe 10 unique objections. And I tell people, I'm like, that's an awesome number because it's not 100 unique objections that you have to prepare for. 95% of the time, you're going to have one of 10 objections. Yes. That's a very doable number. So it's going to be talking about, practice them, actually script out what you're going to say. I think a lot of salespeople that get an objection, they ask one question, if that, and then they move right to their pitch, right to their response. Mm-hmm. There's one thing I like to say, which is you got to earn that right to respond to an objection. And to earn that right, you got to show that you're truly invested. You got a genuine interest in why you're getting the objection. You're asking great questions so that when you do respond, the customer's saying, well, they did a great job of really trying to understand where I'm coming from. Our big thing is we really think that the closest thing to a silver bullet in sales is role practice. We call it role practice because we ain't playing. But I
love that. I love it. It's no longer role playing. It's role practice. I love it.
We ain't playing. But asking people to run a role practice type of scenario with their coworkers and their leaders is basically you're hitting the same nerve that they feel when it comes to public speaking. We know a lot of people are terrified of that. I don't want that to be an excuse for not role practicing with other human beings. But one thing that we've really started to work on developing is role practicing with ChatGPT. And I will tell you, it's impressive. ChatGPT, given the right prompts, can be a very tough opponent. And when we think about it, we got this fear of vulnerability. I don't want to role practice with other human beings. Fine. Role practice with a robot. And that's that skills enhancement that's missing among salespeople.
100%. And something else I got to ask you, what do you think of the voice tone? I'm big on this when I talk to people. The voice, people can tell when you're just rattling on for 30 seconds and getting off the phone. Do you teach them that, how to bring it up, the harmonies? You guys are singers, up and down.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we do exercises where we listen to voicemails, and I mean, tone accounts for 75% of your message. It's only 25% is what you're actually saying. It's how you're saying it. So exactly. Just teaching people, I mean, just go up with your inflection sometimes. If you're always like, this is Robert from this company, and you should call me back because of this. Like, you can just feel that the energy going down. So it's like, this is Robert from, ABC Staffing Company. Just go up with that vocal.
You know what? You hit it right on the head. And I got to tell you real quick is people call me back and they're like, dude, I have no clue what you said, Shark, but you had energy. I was inquisitive. I want to call you back. Yeah. And it's seriously, it's like that. But you know how it is, though. And this is where the AI is going to come in, guys, is sometimes like the sourcers. After you make so many phone calls a day, your voice just goes down by 3 o'clock. You're drained, and you can hear it in your voice too.
Yeah. It's interesting. I always tell recruiters that, while you're making call after call after call, and it might seem like, okay, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. It's like, well, the person on the other end of that phone, it's the first time they're hearing it. Yeah. So you've got to keep that in mind and make every performance, what we said earlier, make it memorable, because while you're thinking it's repetitive, each time you're going, it's the other person's first time hearing your voice.
100%. It's like Kenny Chesney. I always say it's like a concert. Every time you should be on Showtime. Every time you get on that phone, it's like you're on stage.
Yeah. And John, I know you mentioned getting on the phone and Robert and talking about, the mirroring yourself to the audience, right? Sometimes you'll get someone on the phone, they're that director driver. We know that we need to immediately pivot and adapt our style to that. Sometimes we may get on there with that, on that disc profile, that person that's the analytical, and again, trying to adapt how we approach them, over the phone. So we're not having a completely different style. A director driver, we're talking for, 10 minutes and never getting to the point, irritating the individual, and they hang up. So again, understanding quickly, I think, their personality style and how they like to communicate, and then being able to kind of adapt and to match them and mirror them.
I'm so looking forward to your sessions in Orlando.
I know this is a lot of energy, John. Both of them, Kim and Robert, they got so much energy, man. We're gonna have so much fun. I gotta throw this out there real quick. There still is time. So we're only 20 days away. You know that, man. Or not even that, 18 days away. Whew. Time's flying by. Any final thoughts, John, on what's going on, man, for big, the Staffing Sales Conference?
I am really excited. I love both of the presentations that we're going to hear from both Kim and Robert. Different topics, very applicable. And, if you're a staffing sales professional and you want to hone your skills, it's a conference that's worth attending.
100%. And if you guys are out there, do us a favor, subscribe to our channel, Staffing Shark channel on YouTube. We're on the X, we're on everything like that. We love your support. We have great people like this on there. We have entertainers like Robert, John, and Kim, I expect something to Robert there. You're going to have to do a little improv, please. Can we do something like that? 5 minutes?
See what I can weave in there.
All right, I'll give you a little bit of time to prep. Is that cool? You don't need that, man. You're good. And Kim, it's been a pleasure finally meeting you, and I'm so excited to meet y'all in Florida. So,
all right. Thanks for inviting me in.
Everybody, that's a wrap till next week. We'll see you in Florida in about 18 days. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.